Hey guys, this is going to be a review of Shadowhunters Season 2, Episode 17, A Dark Reflection, an episode where a bunch of stuff happened that I wasn't expecting the show to get to this quickly. There's a lot about the mortal mirror in this episode. Even though the mortal mirror is a mortal instrument, I don't think the show has really, talked about it much before now, so we're finally getting into that. Elliot's sudden appearance seems a bit weird. It feels weird that we haven't heard about him before. Logically, I guess it makes sense that Clary would, know people from her childhood who might have been involved and stuff, but story-wise, it feels strange that he just, pops up out of nowhere. I would hate to be Dot and just be going about my life and then suddenly have this huge responsibility thrust on me, but her attitude in this episode was excellent. I loved it so much. Jonathan actually hesitating when Clary offered him a second chance was very interesting to me because it's not something I can imagine the Jonathan of the books doing, and so the fact that the show really seems to be making him more ambiguous is an interesting choice, and I'm curious to see how they play that out. I love the storyline of Izzy having to deal with Max getting older and starting to go on missions and how worried she is. I feel like having to watch a 10-year-old kid, I don't even know if he's 10, I think he's around 10, that sounds right, but having to watch him start putting his life in danger, I feel should be pretty hard, and Izzy's the only one who seems adequately concerned about it. I really like that story, and I really like the kind of focus on Izzy and Max's relationship because there hasn't been a huge focus on it before. I also really love the Sizzy we got in this episode. It was so great, even though it was centered around Simon and Maya's relationship and Izzy kind of helping Simon, which I loved. I still, I love Sizzy, and I love that Izzy, kind of scolded Simon and, went and talked to Maya, and just everything about it was awesome. And what I dreaded most happened in this episode, which was Magnus finding out that Alec knew about the soul sword, and then getting upset, understandably upset about it. It was just as sad as I expected it to be. I fully believe that Alec should have told Magnus despite what the Clave said, and Magnus being angry is 100% justifiable, but it still really upsets me to watch them fighting, and it's I wish we didn't have to go through this. Going into episode 18, I'm probably thinking about Malik more than anything, to be honest, and how that whole thing is going to play out. But I think that is all for this episode. I will see you guys later. Bye.